don't understand. Just give me a moment. Okay, today we are going to talk about the trademarking around the brand Nike, and we are going to walk through the brand Nike. We are going to walk through the taglines in of the IPRs and try and understand Nike in the format it has to be understood in terms of what kind of NFTs and stuff has been developed over the world, in terms of how brands like Nike, Levi's have been instrumental in the power of understanding sustainability for real sense. It's very, very important here to understand the sustainability part first, because sustainability itself can solve the current issues in terms of what brands have global presence, in terms of not only the WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization headquartered in Geneva. So just besides WIPO, we have ITU, stands for International Telecommunication Union, and that is basically the paramount body for how the communication network works. And it's not that it just came into existence, so it's one of the pivotal bodies of the world. And United Nations itself was formed with the mindset of the peacemaking stuff in the world when whatever happens. Because right now, although we are at the intersection of whatever folks know, but people like us who are into patenting, we have been into quantum for the longest time in terms of, I think, from the patenting point of view, I started my patenting practice in the quantum world way back in the year 2006 plus, and we are in 2025. So not only, we have an online life and an offline life, but the quantum life is so. Now, how many people are onboarded in the quantum life? That's not the question I want to answer right now, but we need to fix ourselves in the offline world and understand that this interface through which we are trying to communicate to the masses in the best possible manner, the intent is just very simple, to make them understand what intellectual property rights is, because in the offline world, the capitalistic way of working always has been intellectual property rights. Not from today, it's been, I don't know, I don't want to get into the data set, because people then start coding that stuff without even understanding what Quantum Leap has done in terms of the innovators in the world have. I mean, it's not different parallel verses or ongoing at any given point of time, but the reality is, just for the offline world to function in a manner in way it has to function, intellectual property rights is like an umbrella, which is the, I would say it's like a shield, which is very operative in nature in terms of the understanding of intellectual property rights. So if I have to talk about pi, the letter P and the letter I, it would be equal to patent infringement. So I was just going through the data set even before I go back to, so I need to talk about two brands. One's Nike, another one is Levi's. Before that, I'd like to talk about what has been happening in terms of, common brands which should not be registered as a trademark. Now, there are a lot of online shops in the online world which are operating from India, and they're providing very cheap services. I mean, even if your trademark is registered, it doesn't make sense, because if there's a word, I'm not getting the actual meaning of it, but anything related to, salt, sugar, and all these common words, these cannot be trademarked even as a device. Device means, the logo and stuff. Say, for example, what I have with me is this. This is Costa. So, Costa Coffee, and it says our napkin have been cleaning happy faces since 1971. So, this perhaps is a way of branding whatever the brand is. It clearly states that it was established or has been in the marketplace in terms of the years from 1971, and we are in 2025. Now, from the point of view is, I have emphasized this a lot, and I'll re-emphasize here, you have to do your SWOT analysis. That is your strength, weakness, opportunities, and now the word threat. How do you channelize that to make your strength is a question you need to answer. Please, please, please don't try to get into the protocols of the operators of the world, because it's not going to solve anybody's problem, and particularly the sustainability issue. It has been misused, and probably after this discussion, I'm going to write that stuff in a form people are able to appreciate a little bit on the stance of. So I'm going to give you some numbers, because that's what I am supposed to do right now. So we will look into Nike itself, or what is the story of Nike and stuff. I'll go through it. Just give me a moment. Not a moment, it'll take a little bit time for the retrieval. I haven't retrieved the data set yet. I was just working on the second office action for longevity in time, which has to be filed before the US PTO. Okay, what do we have? Okay, So I have something in front of me. Okay, it's a very interesting application. It is supposed to be Nike motion generator. I'll go into the details. Just take it as a raw data set, because we need data for the input for anything to function well. So in front of me, I have Nike itself. It's very innovative in its way of function, and particularly is also catering to the sustainability part. So I have to dive into this application. Okay, so basically this application number is United States patent, which was filed in the year 1963. So if I just go by the timeline, we have Costa Coffee, which is since 1971. So you can just make a timeline just to reset the data set for people who really want to be in the white web, because we need to just focus on the white web. Let everything else be nullified in our world, because we are good coders. So it was filed in 63, published in the year 65. Oh, it's published 26th date of July 1966. I'm 26 date born, so 26 is special to me. So there's nothing to do with infinity. Please don't take infinity as 0. There's nothing to do with it. Okay, let's see. So I'm trying to fetch the details so that I can discuss this. Then we'll go ahead and I'll take you through the industrial design and whatever I can. This seems to be something different. It is EPO patent. Okay. Okay. So EPO stands for European Patent Office. That's ENP, European Patent. Okay, so this Junior Melvin D. Demon, and in the year 83, it expired. The status is lifetime expired, blah, blah, blah. Particularly, it relates to engineering and computer science, radar and positioning and navigation, remote sensing, computer networks and wireless communication, physics and mathematics, general physics and mathematics, radar system or details thereof. So let's see. So the OCR of this is not very well done, but still we'll try to understand this, and then probably I'll. Okay. So this particular application cites back to, if I go back to the family tree of this particular application, it cites back to an application which is based out in United Kingdom, filed in the year 1957, and it is GB 897753. So we'll go through these two applications and let's see how we do today, at least for next couple of hours, as for the coding is concerned. Okay. So I walk you through the claims and stuff. We already know there's something to do with the radar system, so let's go into it. We'll deep dive into this. Like motion generator, purpose. So this is particularly real-time closed-loop analog computer that generates completely 3-dimensional flight path of a Nike surface to air missile for training Nike fire control crews, replaces earlier single path target generators by producing automatic dynamic trajectories that always results in an intercept of the simulated target. Principal outlet rectangular coordinates XM, YM, HM, that is easting, northing, altitude, as both DC, that is it can be so many things for the patenting world. For the ground guidance computer and the AC for the simulator displays. Derived polar coordinates as missile range, azimuth, elevation for PPIs and RHIs, scope. The event flags are for fire on trajectory, burst, kill, miss. Burst relays 120 open, recycle. Vertical channel integrator 44 for altitude H, resolver 68 and servo 78 for elevation, angle, and altitude, rate HM, resolver, blah blah blah. Okay, it's still fetching. So burst relay 120 or burst switch 122 open, de-energize fire relays 110, 118, entire generator reset for next run. So basically what it's claiming is complete vertical and horizontal motion generator driven by two timed motors, that is based on 2 seconds, and the other one is 7-second delay. Integration conversion network to turn velocity voltages into position coordinates. Vertical servo with potentiometer, motor generator, resolver for altitude control, horizontal resolver player for decomposed ground velocity into XM and YM. So this basically describes an analog hardware in the loop missile motion simulator purpose built for night radar trainers, producing every phase of the missile flight automatically and real time so that trainee operators see a realistic intercept scenario on their scopes. So this is done. So I said I'll be discussing. Okay. If I see the family, I don't see the family as such. Application current priority, locomotion. Okay. So this is derived from United Kingdom Patent Application GB 697753, which is the Sine Wars at that point of time. General Precision Systems Ltd. So what happens here? It's a very small application. Generally, you know what I have noted down after working for the before the UK patent offices, they like crisp, they like it small, and they like it very clear. No jargons, the way we do it for USP2 and other countries. I think that is something I liked a lot about the UK patent office. So I'll try and this one also. It is something to do with the shaft and stuff. Though it is talking about the axis of X, Y, and Z, we are going to look into something else. So we have this British patent, which is 897753, published on 27th day of May 1958. The purpose is to have a ground-based radio navigation radar-intercept trainer, which has an instructor which can control. So can you imagine what I'm trying to say here is in 1957 itself, we had such kind of applications in terms of the innovation per se. So if you look into that thought process, 99.99999, whatever, zillion zeros you want to put in, whatever you are doing, which is in some terms, people call it as technical advancement, it is somewhere, already documented, maybe in a patent, or it is documented in some format or the other. So that is one reason, getting a patent is next to impossible. Point number one. If you're getting a patent, it should not be a patent. It should come as a 10-year stuff, which is a party patent. And that is where, China is ahead. And even countries like Malaysia and all, they are ahead of the curve. So they have this 10 years concept. It is, again, this whole exercise of the intellectual property right is to have a capitalistic way of running the world in terms of there is some kind of fiat currency, or there's some kind of, money involved where you need to pay the government, and that's how the world rules. And then, that economy of whatever circle economy is created in terms of intellectual property rights. So in this particular stuff, we have fixed relative to aircraft, but this boring one, I'm not getting into it. We can always recall and look into this British patent of the year 1957. So we will just let's focus on something else in terms of. So in this particular application, I use the word Nike, which was in the title. Title is basically the like nomenclature of humans. You have your first name, you have a family name, middle name, whatever you want to have. So what is important here is, okay, I have a question. What's going on here? uh, we are discussing the branding part in terms of intellectual property rights as to how brands like Nike and the others who are pivotal in, firstly, they have been launched almost a decade back or whatever years. I'm not calculating the year. What is important here is they have achieved their understanding of sustainability in terms of the current menace of what humans have done to the planet. If we call it Earth, some people call it Mother Earth. It's the way the nomenclature is done. So basically these are taggings. So intellectual property rights is based on many aspects. It has patents, it has trademarks, it has industrial designs. So if we go by the shoes, like everybody at one point of time, if you get into the historical data set, humans were not supposed to wear shoes. They just used to be barefoot. And because they were barefoot and very grounded, at one point of time, their intellectual capacity was much, much higher, which we call in the intellectual world as IC. Over the years, now we have the shoe system where everybody likes to wear shoes. People want to have increased height and stuff. So if you go again to the historical data set, that was the introduction of shoes. And in that, Nike plays a very pivotal role in terms of just do it. It is being used by sports people, it is being used by normal people, it is being used by youngsters, all age groups. So Nike has penetrated into the world of intellectual property rights very deeply. At the same point of time, a part of their profits is going in developing and saving the planet Earth, if I may say so, so that we are able to achieve the SDG goals, which are Sustainable Development Goals. There are supposed to be whatever numbers. We can always increase the numbers because there are a lot of pain points in terms of the menace which has been caused by the wrong data set, and particularly the wrong data set is basically the input data. So that's what's it's going on here. Then I have another question. What you want to achieve in life? Okay, I think I have already achieved what I had to in terms of the kind of work I have done uh, over last not last decade. I think um, I entered into intellectual property rights way back in 2006 officially, and by 2012 I had written all the telco patents, which are like telco patents which are not even filed before the authorities, because I have to bind by the NDAs and whatever documentation is there. So the telecommunication part is very well known to me in terms of how things have to work and how communication is working, not only in 5G, 6G, 7G, 8G. So all the generative technologies which you can think, which is using this portal, not the quantum world, because quantum world is another one, because quantum world works in a very different fashion, which I don't want to discuss here. So I think I have achieved what I had to in terms of the framework, and what I will, time will tell, because I'm connected to the very well connected and very fortunate to be where I am today, and I look forward what things work out in coming days and coming years, because a lot of stuff we already know. It is just that we are waiting for the right timeline to launch it in a manner where the acceptance is for real. However, it has been accepted by most of the folks who understand what we are trying to achieve or what we are doing in intellectual property rights, because intellectual property rights is paramount not only for a country like India. However, we are talking about 140 plus countries, and in that, trademark plays a very pivotal role in many ways. Trademark and industrial design plays a more important role than having a patent application. And just don't go for the concept. I don't know what is your background in terms of the understanding of what intellectual property rights is, but since I have been in the IPR and really connected to the internet and doing stuff which was able to make those IP protocols, which is very well connected in terms of whatever framework you can think of. So yeah, that's what the I think that's what I'll I don't know if there's another question. I would love to answer that, but let's go back to this Nike stuff. We're already 20 minutes here. Okay, let's wrap it as soon as possible. So there's a concept of assignee and applicant. Many a times, the big giants in the world, they are not filing the patents in the name of the applicant. They just file it in individual names, maybe their family names, child name, and that also, has value because that is not part of the company, but still it exists. So if I just look into the data set, I have some very good data sets with me. If I just have to pick up one, so I'll go with the design application first, and then we can talk about something which normal people will be able to associate. So I don't know how many people remember in the 90s there used to be an ad, joote mein hai light, lalla light, wo bhi shoe mein, kaisa hai ye system. So that was the brand action, and it was the brand endorsement was done by Sachin Tendulkar at that point of time. So you would be seeing people, wearing lighted shoes in the 90s. So that was part of the industrial design, and although that is one way of looking at it. Even Michael Jackson, whatever he was doing on stage, it has a particular shoes, and there's a patenting part involved in it. That is why he was able to do what he was doing at that point of time. So everything is under intellectual property rights. So this particular application which we have in front of us is a US design. This US design is bearing number D32155. It was filed in the year somewhere in the 1990 and published in 91. So this is for Nike, and particularly design is how the eyes perceive whatever you see. Now, what is important here is if I just go, the claim is very simple in design, which states that it is a surface ornamentation. So the tick mark, the tick, that resonates with Nike. And they have done so much branding that anybody who sees that will know that's Nike. So that's how trademarking is done, and that's how you create that bond with your end user. That what's matter. It's not the intellectual property rights. Yes, it matters, but it is not that if you don't have IPR with you, you cannot do your business. Because now, with the advent of this internet protocols and wherever the internet is there for people to access, you can build things very fast. It's just that whom you consider your customers, whom you reject as your customers is going to be pivotal to understand intellectual property rights. Forget about Web 3.0, because Web 3.0 understanding, I think till now I feel folks don't have it. Even if we have the playbooks and everything, I still feel it'll take a lot of time for people to understand Web 3.0. And this particular application, as I said, it has two figures. It says, now this broken line showing of a shoe in figure 1 and 2 is for illustrative purposes only, and for the claimed design, if I go in the bibliographic, it is the primary clause is D02/977. Field of search was obviously it's D2, and they have nomenclature altogether. If I go to the citations, then okay. So the citations are based on 3 applications. I'll just go through the application numbers. You can always go and look into it. So 2 applications. 2 applications are published in the month of August. One is in 1987, other one is in 1988, and the third one is somewhere dating 1988 October. So one is shoe sole, then we have shoe arc, shoe upper. I'll go in the shoe arc. So that is August 1988. So this has been assigned to Reebok, and primary clauses D02/946 claims this is a shoe arc as shown and described. This, as I said, the application number is D296952. So it has a side view, bottom view, rear view, side view. So generally what happens is when you're filing a design application, give all the views. I mean, not only side, bottom, rear, side. It has to be top, isometric, perspective. The point is from all the directions. You have to look it into 360 direction and see whatever you are trying to gauge the audience per se on stage. That has to be part of it. Then only it becomes a design application. Now, over the years, why this is important here for the discussion is there was a force from the back end, which I don't want to name anything right now. Let's only concentrate on the wide web. They wanted to overcome USPTO, WIPO, and the others, and they were trying to understand, pretty, explain us this, that, blah, blah, blah. I was in my formative years. I didn't have any cognizance of, that people can also work in that order because they just want to change the world order. However, over the years, because I have been part of different protocols along with whatever I do in the quantum world, USPTO, whatever the patent offices are in different capacities. So I got the training on one-on-one, sometimes online, sometimes offline, human capacity building. So that took care of that. So if I just look into, let's just, it's only 26 minutes. I want to cover it up in the next 3 minutes. Um, let me see if I can give you some patent numbers. You can just look into it. Let's go into WIPO for looking into this aspect so that we get some patent applications. It's like almost 3085 applications per se, but something which was gauging attention. Okay, from the athletic point of view, because now the sports industry overall has changed, so I have to weigh something which is obviously I like to read stuff which has my attention. So this is basically filed in the year 2003, and so this itself is custom fit sale of footwear. The WIPO application number is 2003/079 158. I'll just go through the method. So basically, it's custom fit sale of footwear. Custom fit sale of footwear. I'll try and explain in simple language. So I have my own models, which is proprietary. So that is not for public discussion. So it's basically a process that guarantees a proper fit on delivery. So that means it is customized. The customer, not the seller, selects the last. That means the customer is given the opportunity wherever you take the picture through different mediums. So here basically it is made by precise foot measurements or prior positive experience with footwear already made on that last. The purchase is completed through any remote channels, which can be web, phone, mail, etc. Because the finished shoe is constructed on the identical last one selected by the customer, the probability of fit error is reduced, eliminating the traditional need for in-store try-on. So basically, you have sizes like UK size is different, this size is different. There are so many different sizes, but this is basically catering to that. I'll look into the application in terms of whatever they're trying to claim. Now the point is, it's not important that you get a patent or not. I mean, there are so many people they're after the life like I need a patent certificate. It is not required when you're doing a business. Now just imagine all this customization stuff was already done in 2003. We are sitting in the year 2025. So whatever you're filing in the name of customization somewhere or the other, it's already disclosed. So according to the applicable patent laws, these are not even patentable at the first place. So It says order contains ID that the seller maps to the correct last from the customer last database. That's basically SQL. That is structured query language, nothing else. So this is the factory makes a pair on those exact last and ships it to the customer. It has an optional post-manufacture refinement. After the shoe is built, the same last can be used again, and this time to reform, that is heat or pressure adjust the interior length and or width to fine-tune fit before the shoe leaves the facility. The system supports two different lasts for the left and the right shoes where the customer feet are different sizes or shapes. So shape basically is the contouring. Then we have a real world infrastructure, which is a distribution center containing an order receiving unit, which has a web server, phone, IVR, etc., a customer last database that stores each person proven last, footwear inventory or semi furnished shoes whose upper soles are already assembled, but those interiors are moldable, thermoplastic counters, heat setting linings, a manufacturing cell, a last library with every possible last in every shape, heating and pressing stations that remold the moldable components to the precise length and width dictated by the chosen last. Customer logs into the web or the phone, either selects a last directly or the system looks it up. Order is routed to the distribution center. The correct last is pulled from the library and used to shape or reshape the interior, blah, blah, blah. So basically, it's traditional pick a model or pick the exact last that fits, adds a physical capability to heat, remold, and almost finish shoes so that the matches laws precisely. Now, this is applicable to shoes. It is very common sense, it can be applicable to any article. So, if a patent office is granting patents based on these applications, I mean, come on, this was done in 2003. We are sitting in 25. Doesn't make any sense. That is why, the current intellectual property rights holds no value because main stuff has already been patented. What is required right now is the industrial design. If you're solving real problems and integrate with IoT, just file the application and use it for ROI. That is, return on investment. That's it. You really don't need a patent certificate or some certification to uh, get the cognizance that these are my users. Because now we are at a standpoint where I feel, especially for Web 3.0, if people really want to onboard themselves onto Web 3.0, and when you are part of the application, you have to make sure that, say for example, you have probably 150 questions on any of the forms. Just give the choices, don't say all of these. You need to make those choices, and say for example, per question 4 answers, you make the answers and let the people select. Onboarding cannot be based on fiat currency or any task. What we need to do is, if you select people on whatever basis you are selecting right now, make sure that if these selected individuals are not on the same page, they have to be part of different protocols. What I mean here is, we have to restart the internet in terms of the garbage which has been created by providing free internet. Because when you provide free internet, whatever is coming onto the call, say for example, if somebody's calling someone and say, how are you doing, that kind of data entry doesn't is not sufficing the purpose of training any of the LLMs, which are large language models. We need to have real data in terms of um, conversations can be anything, but real intellectual conversations have to be on RI, which is real intellect. And real intellect, to find those real intellect, that means real gems in the world, and whether they really want to be part of your network, which should be free will. You cannot force somebody to be part of something where they don't want to be, because it is free will. Free will doesn't has to come from being the bloodline, brother, sister, husband, wife. No relationship works in that order, because internet doesn't belong to any country. Internet doesn't belong to a religion. Internet is a free kind of a property, in terms of the canvas is so big or so large. Even the word stitch is a misused word, because that's what the AI model is telling me right now. So don't try to stitch in those thoughts. The free will has to be embraced, and to embrace the free will, what you need to do is, you need to have your own format where you give the questionnaire to the people. And since you are the owner of the business, make sure just to give maybe 4 or 5 choices and see and study that landscape. It's not that your first 100 customers are going to be important, or first 50 customers which you're onboarding. No, that doesn't work. You have to select your own resources. It's not the admin part of it, but the people who are onboarded, because that will create that, worse for the people in real sense, and that will make sense in solving any of the problems which the world is facing today. I hope I was able to answer some of the questions I was asked to talk about it. I have a lot which I can add, but I don't want to. I'm already 35 plus minutes online. I don't want to be online, and I need to just get back to my USPTO's work. Thank you for watching out the video. Have a great day ahead.